So next one, B, if we look at this one, B is beyond the 1, so I'm going to start this thing as a mixed number, okay? So B is 1, and notice this little symbol right here, it's a little quotation mark. That stands for inches, okay? So just to understand, whenever you see that little quotation mark, we're talking about inches. So that's 1 inch, and now we have to tack on the fraction. So it's 1 and what? And maybe for that first one, I'll put the little inches mark. There we go, 3/4 of an inch. So it's 1 and what? And so as I look at this thing, once again, I could just count up all the dashes and say, okay, if I counted up all the dashes, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6/16. But now I have to reduce that fraction. That reduces to 3/8. They're each divisible by 2. So I would say that's 1 3/8. And for some reason, I switched colors here. Let me try again. So 1 3/8 inches. Okay? Again, the other option is to look at the size of the dash we're talking about, okay? And so as soon as I identify the dash, I count that size dash and any bigger dashes, okay? So for this one, if I'm talking about this size dash, it's the second to smallest, that's the eighths. So it's 1, 2, because count the larger ones as well, 3/8, okay? So 1 3/8. If I look at the next one, letter C this time. So it's somewhere within the 2 range, so it's 2 inches. And now we tack on the fraction, so it's a mixed number. And notice we're on the smallest dash this time, so my only option is to count all the dashes. So let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so it's 11/16, so 2 and 11/16 inches. The other thing that we can do there is you can use some of those larger dashes to your advantage. Maybe you jump right to here and say, well, I know this big dash is 1/2, okay? Well, now we have to think about getting common denominators. We want to talk about that in terms of sixteenths. That would be 8/16. And now count from there. Ready? 9, 10, 11. Okay. And so the better we are at kind of jumping back and forth between the different denominators of the fractions, the faster we can look at this tape measure or this ruler and identify the measurement that we're talking about. So if we start there with that 1/2, something easy, 8/16, now I only have to count 9, 10, 11/16, okay, instead of counting them all. And then if I look at the last one, D. So let's see, we're at the 3, so it's 3 inches. And notice it's the second to smallest dash mark, so those are eighths. So I'm going to go right to the eighths thing. And so again, I count those and the longer dashes. So let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5/8. And once again, I could have used a little bit of a shortcut. Start with the 1/2 again. Start with that big dash and say, hey, right here, 1/2. I know that that's 1/2. Let's think about it in terms of eighths. That would be like 4/8. And now count one more of those second to smallest dashes. We're up to 5/8. Okay. So again, use your knowledge of fractions to be able to take some shortcuts here. Again, if you're really unsure, well, just count all the dashes. It's out of 16. Just make sure you reduce your fraction. Okay.